Greetings, this is going to be a plug for Smudboy regarding his upcoming legal scenario. Some of you might know who he is, some of you might not know who he is, but this is more important than Smudboy or Stardust or really any of us as individuals, and I'll explain the circumstances. So essentially, Smudboy is a games critic, a critiques games, dissects them. I think he does a very good job of that. Other people's opinions might differ, and he usually goes into a lot of depth and a lot of detail. Now, a while back, a channel going by the name of Clever Noobs put out a video, and I'm paraphrasing here, along the lines of, is the gaming industry crashing again? And he made a lot of assertions, and I imagine put a fair amount of effort into putting together the video. But Smudboy, being someone who's very familiar with gaming history and the gaming industry, did a critique of his video and basically took it apart and corrected him on the mistakes that he had made. In response to this, Clever Noobs flagged him basically and had his video taken down. Other people in succession attempted to have the video put back up on their own channels to represent Smudboy's work, but these were taken down as well. Long story short, Clever Noobs, with his ego, couldn't deal with a bit of criticism. Now, I should remind you really what this is about. What went on here essentially was tantamount to something as absurd as, for example, what if you had someone make a detailed video about the Norman conquest of England and the Norman dynastic line thereafter, and instead of saying the Norman conquest took place in 1066 and was effectively completed at the Battle of Hastings in England, they say, well, the Norman conquest took place in 1441 and took place in Poitiers in France. And Edward III didn't live in the 14th century, but in fact lived in the 18th century. And he's often confused with Louis XIV. I mean, the point I'm making here, it sounds absurd, is that essentially what Smudboy did was engage in historical criticism based on fact and his facts that he brought into it, and a large pool of knowledge that he has access to regarding the gaming industry, and corrected this guy in his mistakes. Unfortunately, not everyone is willing to accept criticism. I've been on YouTube long enough to deal with criticism all the time. If people claim I'm not willing to take it, that's completely untrue. I listen to it and accept it all the time, whether I agree with it or not. But there's some people whose egos are so big that they just can't deal with it, and this is what happens. Now, for those of you who don't know, YouTube has a really flimsy, lame system where you can just flag anyone for anything. I mean, you can just make stuff up, literally, and you can get flagged for it. And YouTube operates along the lines of, they'll get back to you, when after you're dead, basically. So it's pretty complicated because YouTube doesn't give a rat's ass about these sorts of things. And what Smudboy did was within the grounds of fair use. So that's the scenario, basically. And Smudboy decided to, as far as I understand it, and I don't understand the entire scenario, their details have been left out, understandably, to the public, to countersue, counterfile, and yeah, so he's going to be heading down to Pennsylvania, I believe, in July, and he is going to have a lot of legal fees. Now, of course, no one is forced to donate money, but I would ask you, if you believe in the principle of free speech, the right to criticize people, whether they like it or not, that maybe you pass him a couple of bucks. His channel, I'll be putting a link to it, and you'll see he has a PayPal donation link. Look, I'm not even employed really at the moment, not really, and I still donate something to him. But I do believe strongly, not only in his work, but in the fact that we should ideally live in a society where you're able to say anything you want. whether people agree with it or not. I mean, we've gotten the point where hurt feelings and egos are dominating the pulpit, and you know it's a shame. The problem is, as long as you're not offensive, you can say whatever you want. As long as you're goofy, you make people smile. But if you do something serious along the lines of what Smudboy does with his critiques, his gaming critiques, you can end up in dire straits. So this is really about the principle. It's about freedom of speech and the right to criticize and correct people's mistakes. I've made mistakes in the past, and I'm grateful for corrections. I've learned a little bit more about astronomy. I'm not going to reference that particular example by mistakes I've made in the past. So, no one's forced to, but if you believe in freedom of speech and the right to engage in criticism and receive criticism, and you like Smudboy's channel, then help him out with his legal fees. He's going to have a lot of them, I think. And mind you, he did this out of principle. So he's going to be heading down to the States. He's actually a Canuckian, i.e. a Canadian, and he's going to try to settle this, apparently out of court. I don't know the details once again, but do what you think is best. And if you don't want to donate or can't donate or all of the above, then just spread the word, share this video, share Smudboy's video, make sure everyone hears about it, because clever noobs basically is acting like a 5-year-old, or did act like a 5-year-old, hurt ego. Mind you, he also started deleting all comments related to this controversy. It's anyway controversy, but whatever. So, as always, may the gods watch over you, fortune favor you, and remain hale and healthy. Take care. Bye-bye.